Hey guys, this is the next video. This is Stalin's rise to power. Right. Hopefully this video will be a little bit shorter, but I want to talk to you guys a little bit about what happened to Russia after World War One. That is, after World War One, there was poverty, which is like another way of saying poor or really bad living conditions, like things will be dirty or broken down, and people are poor. Soldiers are weary after coming back from World War One, and there was a bunch of soldiers, and also there was a food shortage. There's a lot of people living in Russia, and sometimes there were just not enough food to go around. So because of all these problems, Russia used to be ruled by a guy named Nicholas II, and because of all these problems, he gave up his power. There's a lot more that goes into that, but because of all these problems, Nicholas II gave up his rule. He was no longer the leader of Russia. So with that comes in this new guy named Vladimir Lenin. And Vladimir Lenin kind of has these really big ideas on how government should be in Russia. Vladimir Lenin was the leader of this thing called the Bolshevik Party. So this thing, Bolshevik Party, and they were kind of violent. Sometimes they would be violent towards people who didn't agree with them. So Vladimir Lenin, he and his party, the Bolshevik Party, they led a revolt, or they led like a rebellion. And he did that with the soldiers, the peasants, another word for poor people, and the working class people, and took control of government buildings. So they decided that they were gonna take over the government because they thought the government was not doing a very good job, and they wanted to create their own government. They wanted a government that was led by those soldiers, peasants, and workers. If you think about government, sometimes it's run by maybe the rich or run by politicians. Lenin and the Bolshevik Party, they didn't think that those politicians or like really really rich people should be in power. Maybe because they just don't understand what it's like to be poor or have to work for a living or to serve their country by fighting. So these people should be ruling the government according to Lenin because they would know what's best for the country because they work, they serve the country in a very direct way. All right. So in comes Joseph Stalin. I wrote he worked for Lenin in the Bolshevik Party. I don't know if "worked" is the best word to use, but he was definitely contributed to Lenin and the Bolshevik Party. So after kind of being with them for a few years, he eventually kind of rose through the ranks and became really powerful. And then he took control of Russia in 1922, and he eventually became a dictator. And he also eliminated anyone he thought was an enemy. And Leon Trotsky is a person who was set to be the new leader of Russia, but Joseph Stalin actually kind of took over and got rid of Leon Trotsky. All right, and yeah, that's kind of the thing that Joseph Stalin did. Anybody he thought that was an enemy, he arrested them or sent them away to a camp, like a work camp, or maybe he just killed them. And that's, well, yeah. All right, this word I want to go over, which is communism. In America, whenever we think of that word, we always think of communism in Russia in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. And when like you and your families and a lot of other people in America always view communism as a very, very bad thing, which it is. Well, when we think of Stalin's communism under Stalin, it was a very, very bad thing. A lot of people were killed. The economy suffered really harshly under Stalin's communism. And that was because Stalin's communism, the government pretty much took over property and business. If you have property, which is another way of saying if you have something you own, like if you have a house, or well, no, if you have a business, you can sell whatever you want to sell, and you can sell it for however much money you need to. However, Stalin's government would say, no, we're going to take over this business, we're going to take over this, and yeah, we're just going to take control over it. That caused a lot of harm, and a lot of bad things. But like in America, when we always think of communism, we always think of Stalin's communism and a few other examples. But I do want to say this word communism, it doesn't always mean Stalin's communism. It doesn't always mean that. And I kind of want to go into this a little bit more. If you look at this word communism, there's kind of a word hidden in there, and that is community. And if you think of a community, you can kind of think of people coming together or working together. And that's kind of what some of those ideas are kind of connected to this word communism. So one of the goals for communism is for communal ownership of land or property. So like if you have like farmland, I don't know, let's say, yeah, if you have farmland in a communist country, the workers or the people would have equal ownership of that land. That land does not belong to, is not owned by one person. It's owned by a whole community, and they use that land to best for whatever needs that they have. In a communist nation, the community owns the land. It's not just owned by one person. Okay. And also, another goal is in communism is there is no rich people and there are no poor people. A lot of times in countries you have, this is certainly true in America, you'll have rich people like Donald Trump or Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg, and they're really, really, really rich. Then you have other people who, if you go into a city, you might see some homeless people. One of the goals for a communist country is you wouldn't have any of that. Everybody would kind of be equal. There would be no rich, no poor. And I will say there are many different versions of this word, but I just wanted to talk a little bit more about it because there are different definitions of this word. So I wanted to give you different definitions of this. And then this is a song lyric, and you'll probably hear this as you get older, but this land is my land and this land is your land. That's a really good idea for what this thing is. What is mine is what's yours. It's kind of like people sharing stuff together. And there's no like, oh, this is mine and you can't have it. There's none of that. Any kind of resources or property you have is shared by other people in your community. All right. So I'm going to leave it at that.